When you design your reaction plan, you can organize your dimensions by group. Groups are used to clarify the information and manage your dimension items. For example, let's say I've got the measurement data for a process that controls 3 tools. I could group the dimensions by tools. When you group the dimensions, you can display the groups in the detail view. Groups in the detail view are kind of like pages. So I would have 3 different pages inside the detail view to display that information. Another reason to group the items is to manage the dimension items. So for example, let's say I'm using a reaction plan and it's controlling a process, and it gives instructions to the operator to make adjustments to tool 1. The operator knows he's going to make adjustments to tool 1 and cut some more parts. You can design your reaction plan so that a button is displayed in that group, and if he hits that button to acknowledge he's going to make the adjustment, it'll zero out all the dimensions in that group, expecting new measurement data to come in after he makes an adjustment and cuts the part, and it should correct the problem. So groups are used for a variety of reasons. To create a group, it's really pretty simple. The easiest way to do that is to use what we call the dimension organizer. The dimension organizer is this button right here. If I click on that button, it'll bring up a page. I should say bring up a window. You'll see a list of dimensions on the left that are not in a group. To create a group, you simply highlight the dimensions you want to include in a group and then hit a button down here to insert a new group. There are other things you can do in this list as well. I can duplicate dimension items, I can cut and paste, insert new dimension items, things of that nature. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to group this reaction plane into 6 different groups, 1 for each hole. So I'll click on the dimensions that I want to include in a group. Click on the Insert New Group button. I'll continue to do that for, I'll continue to do that for all the dimensions. And one more. You notice I've got them out of order here, so I can move them up and down, move the groups up and down. You notice when I click on an item here, the window changes, or I should say this area of this window changes. You can make modifications to the dimension item or the group that you clicked on. So let's say I want to change the name of each one of these. So I'm calling it group. I'll call it hole 1, hole 2, hole 3, hole 4, hole 5, and hole 6. If I want to add an image to each group, I can click on the Add button down here and add an image. I'm not going to do that right at this time. So I've got my groups, I at least got my groups organized into the dimension items that I want into each group. I'll say OK. And now you notice my summary page has changed. They're now organized in groups. So I've got hole 1, hole 2, hole 3, hole 4, hole 5, hole 6. If I click on the detail view, you'll notice I've got 6 tabs down here, 1 for each group, hole 1, hole 2, etc. There are settings that will influence how the information is displayed in a group. Some settings affect how it's displayed in the summary view, and other settings will influence how it's displayed in the detail view. Let's switch to the summary view and talk a little bit about how the information is displayed. At the top of the group, you have the name of the group. Below that, you have a list of messages. The messages come from the dimension items. The order in which the dimensions are displayed are equal to the order in which the dimensions are added to the group. If you want to change that, you can click on the group. The window changes, and you have additional settings over here on the right that I can change for this group. The first setting, of course, is the name. I can change that to whatever. The next setting is the message when all the dimensions in a group do not meet severity level. In other words, what's the default message if everything is good? The next setting is the severity levels. Right now, the normal is unchecked. So if there is a message, I should say if there's a dimension that is normal, it won't be displayed in the group. If you want to include the feature name in the message, they're talking about up here in the header block, or in this block here, message block. You check that and it'll include the name of the dimension item. Sequential evaluation. This is kind of a nice one when you're in the summary view. If I have this checked, it will only show you the first message that meets the severity level. So the order in which you have the dimension items added to the group will influence the message that appears here in this message block. Process reset. This is, if I check this, it will include a button here which the operator can press to acknowledge he's going to make an adjustment. I mentioned this earlier when I introduced the group function, the group feature. You may have a situation where you want the operator to actually follow the instructions and make an adjustment. He can press on this button and it'll zero out all the dimensions in the group, because whatever he's adjusting is going to influence all these dimensions. I can add a picture to the group. This really applies to the detail view. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And the rest of these menu selections, the rest of these settings really are pertinent to the detail view. Now once you're done filling this out, if I click on the Save Changes button, you'll notice for machine A, I now only have one message in the message block because I've got the sequential evaluation checked. You also have the press button if adjustment made. That button is displayed because there are some dimension items that fall within the warning and the critical criteria. If we switch to the detail view, we don't have a message block, so that information is not displayed. However, we do have a button at the top. Press button if adjustment made.